This video is for a buddy of mine, Adam KL4HX up in Alaska, for setting up his Pi-Star Jumbo Spot and DMR radio, but anybody could use it. I'm going to assume that you already have a DMR ID, and we'll set up Brandmeister and go through the setup of the Pi-Star, and then I'll show a little setup on the radio. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to brandmeister.network. And here we are. This is the user dashboard. I'm not logged in yet, so I'll go through the registration real quick. Click register, and you put in a call sign. I'm going to put in an old call sign, K7ALN. Give it an email address of .com. Boy, I'm screwing this one up. It is a personal account, and put in password, confirm the password. Now, what is the wavelength of UHF band in centimeters? Well, good question. I accept it. And we're going to put in our DMR ID that we got from radio. ID. I don't remember the website. Mine is 311. And you hit the register button. If I don't want to register, so here we are. We have Brandmeister. I already have a hotspot in here. And it's really about all you can do to see on the radio. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, excuse me again, is go to Pi-Star and pick up the image that we need to write to the Pi memory stick, so memory module. So it's pistar.uk right here. We go to downloads, and right here is download Pi-Star. And the one you want to pick for a Raspberry Pi 0W is this one right here. And you can see it downloads, but I'm going to cancel because I've already got it. Another piece of software you're going to need is called, it shows it right here, Windows Imaging Guide. It's called Win32 Disk Imager right here. If you see, I clicked on the Windows Imaging Guide here, so click there, and then click here and download Win32 Disk Imager. And that is it. You need to set it all up and run the program that you get. Once you have the Win32 Disk Imager downloaded, we need to go to our download directory and take a look in there for the PyStar RPI 10 August.2018.zip file, and we need to extract that. So I'm going to open it up. I'm going to say extract all, and I'm going to put it on my desktop so I know where it's at. Desktop. Select folder and extract. And this takes a while. I'll speed through this. Oh-de-do-de-do. Okay, that is done. We see the two images. This .image file is the one we want. It's huge. It's almost 2 gigabytes. And then there's a sum file. No big deal. Let's ignore that. And we'll close that all down. And so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put my memory card into the computer, the one I'm going to put into the Raspberry Pi Zero, and it comes up as H drive. I like to format my memory cards first. You don't have to, but it's not a bad idea. I use a program called SD Formatter. You can get that if you like, but it does a pretty quick job, and it's made just for SD cards. And it's done. Alright, and we're going to exit out. Anyhow, I like to format them first. Then we're going to do the Win32 disk imager that we downloaded earlier. We're going to go find that image file, which I know is on my desktop, and it's right there. And we're going to say open, and we're going to put that on our H drive, or whatever drive your memory card's on. It's not my H. And we're going to say write. Yep. And right now you can't see it, but the drive light for the memory card is blinking away. And this will take a while. I'll speed through this. Alright, the write is successful. Do not take that memory card out yet. We can exit out of here. And it's Windows is going to be complaining that it needs to be formatted. It doesn't need to be formatted. It's in a file format that Windows doesn't recognize, so don't format it again. The card is written, but leave it in there. We still got to put one more file on there. So we're going to go back to pystar.uk right here. We're going to look at PyStar Tools and then Wi-Fi Builder, and we're going to put in our SSID, which in my case is Netgear 04, and then my password, and submit. And it's going to download a file to you, WPA supplicant, right? And it's going to be in your download directory. So we're going to open up our download directory. Download directory. There's the file that it just loaded. we're going to open up another, doesn't really matter where, another one of these windows. We're going to go to our boot drive. It ought to show boot now. And we're just going to take this and drag it over to here, just like that. Alright, and then it's done. It should boot up and connect to your Wi-Fi. So I'm going to eject this and pull the card out. It's ready. And I'm going to install it into the Pi Zero. Okay, I've put the memory card back in the Raspberry Pi W and powered it up and waited a few minutes. And then I went to my router and looked at attached devices. Your router may be different. I don't know how you would do this to go see where it landed. This one here, this one says Pi-Star, and that's its IP address. .29 is the last two numbers. They all start with 192.168.1. something, but the last two numbers are what I'm worried about. The 291 is the existing Pi that I have already on my network. This is the new one though, 192.168.1.36. So we're going to go to that address, 192.168.1.36. Your address might be different though. And here it is. Here's the one we just programmed. It came right up on our Wi-Fi. This is what the screen will look like when you get there. Pi-star and Raspberry. Hit OK. Hit go. Alright, and it wants to save it. I don't want to save that password. And this is what you will get into. This is your configuration. I'm going to switch over to my existing Pi-Star system and go through the configuration there, and we'll continue on. So here's the configuration screen on my existing Pi-Star. Yours is going to look different to start with. First thing we start off with is this, just a bunch of information up here. What your host name is, the software version, the platform it's on, Pi Zero, Raspberry Pi Zero W. Current CPU load, looks like it's got 3 cores. That's pretty cool. Maybe it's only got 2 cores. And the temperature of the CPU. Next thing is controller software. We want MMDV host and simplex node. Right? And then we're going to click apply changes. There's actually a good video on the internet. I'll try to leave a link for it in the description that shows the going through this. He's really good at it. Next, I selected DMR mode. I didn't mess around with this hang time, and the display type is OLED. I didn't mess with this. I didn't mess with that. And apply changes. Every time you hit the apply changes, it reboots the whole thing, and it takes a minute or so. Probably takes like 30 seconds. But then into general configuration. The host name is Pi-Star on this one. I'm going to change. I'm putting in a second hotspot, and I'm going to change the host name so they don't conflict on the network. My call sign, my DMR ID here. This is the frequency at which the hotspot transmits on. I just picked a simplex frequency. You can pick whatever you like. That was the one I picked, and I think I'll have the other one on, 100 kilohertz difference. My latitude and longitude, my town and locator ID, country, state of Washington, USA, my QRZ URL, and then in manual. And if you've got a jumbo spot, the radio modem type is STM32-DVM, Raspberry Pi Hat, GPIO. The node type is public in the US, and my system time zone is North America, Vancouver, BC time zone. Change that to whatever you need to. My dashboard language is English US, and then we're going to apply changes, and that's going to take a little while. Next one is BM. That's brand. This is the DMR configuration. This is the master server that you're connected to on Brandmeister. I've got mine connected on 3101, but if you look, there are 4 of them to connect to. So you connect to that. Your DMR color code. This is for you between the radio and the hotspot. So it's color code 1. And I don't know what these guys do. And hit apply changes. Then I didn't change any of this. Dashboard public access. That means you can get to it on your local internet intranet as pistar.local. IRC, I don't know what that is. SSH, I know what that is, but I wouldn't mess with it. Wouldn't mess with any of this. Now this is your Wi-Fi interface information, and you can see mine's there. And yours should automatically be there too. That's what that pulling that file WPA supplement put this information in for you. And then if you want to change your remote access password from Raspberry to something else, here's where you do it. Anyhow, when you're all done, hit apply changes again, and this portion of it is set up. There's still some more to do, and we'll get to that in just a second. Okay, we're back here to the configuration. Sorry for the jumping around a little bit. I have to collect my thoughts for a second. We're going to run to Brandmeister now. This is the account we just set up. We're going to go to self-care, I believe it is. Oh, that is self-care. No. Where did that go? Maybe it's profile settings. Oh, there it is. So up here, profile settings, and then API keys. We're going to click add an API key, and we're going to enter the name. I'm just going to enter something, second hotspot, because I don't want to mess my hotspot up. Spot, and hit OK. And then it's going to pop up the screen. You can only get to the screen once. We're going to take this here. We're going to hit the copy button. Just hit the copy button right there. And then we're going to go back to your Pi-Star. We're going to click on Expert. And then we're going to see where it says BM API. We're going to click that. And we're going to paste that API key, all of that. It's basically just a super secret password into here. And then hit apply changes. Okay, one other thing that we need to do is change the password for the Brandmeister, and that's in admin. Oh, that's not in admin. I'm sorry. That is in expert. Expert. DMR GW right there. And we're going to go down to DMR Network 1. And we're going to change this password. This password, I don't remember. It's in there wrong, I believe. And this is the one that worked for my server, PASSW1RD. I think it was W0RD in there originally. And we're going to click Apply Changes. It's really important to change that password. I pulled my hair out for a couple of weeks, or not a couple of weeks, but at least a week, trying to figure out what was wrong and why it wouldn't connect. Okay, after the Pi-Star's got done rebooting, get back to the configuration screen. I think you probably have to put your password in again. Configuration, we're going to go down to DMR configuration, and we're going to edit the repeater. This should pull up Brandmeister as it does here, and you need to enter some information in here. I put my QRZ web page, the same location that I put in the configuration, lat and longitude. I didn't mess with the antenna gains, and then click Save Changes. It should not, if you're all hooked up and you've got your hat on and everything is in one piece, it should save changes, and you should get green, set of green check marks here, and this little plug looking thing should go green. Excuse me. If you get an error, this is where I kept running into trouble for about a week, and at that point you're online, and you should be able to go back to the dashboard on your Pi-Star, and this will read green, this will read green, and everything should be green. Okay, so if everything's green here, we don't have to do any troubleshooting on what's going on there. We should, well, let's go look at the radio. So let me clean my desktop up. This was the Icefields Parkway in Canada a few years ago. Radio stuff. And Adam, you have an RD-5R, so we're going to look at programming the RD-5R. So the first thing you want to do is hook your radio up to the USB cable that I sent with it, and your computer should make a noise, like it does when you connect any USB up to it. And then you'd click here, this yellow one says read, and you're going to read what's currently in the radio. It's going to look, I should have it. Let's see. The last thing I put in that radio. My radio stuff. Where is it? Radio files. So let's try this one. This ought to be pretty close to what's in that radio already. And we're going to go to tree view here, and we're going to hit click. We're going to click on plus. And first thing we're going to do is look at general settings. The radio name, it's got mine in there, it's got my radio ID. You need to change this to your call sign and your radio ID. Also in here, a lot of stuff that I really don't know much about, but I'm getting to learn. This here is all the alert tones. They can be fairly noisy radio. So if you want to turn off like the Roger beep, and I don't know if there's even a Roger beep on here, but there's all sorts of tones you can turn on and off. If you want to disable them all, you click there, and then it's a really quiet radio. So anyhow, on the general settings, change the radio name to your radio name, your call sign, and your radio ID. And you don't have, there's no save button, just close it up. Next we're going to go into contacts and digital contacts. These are all the contacts that should be in that radio. There's not one for Alaska. I didn't have the hotspot with that radio, so maybe you can leave these contacts in there if you want. Doesn't hurt anything. We're going to go up here and we're going to right click on digital contacts. We're going to go add a group call, and that's contact 16. So I'm going to double click on that, and we're going to rename that Alaska. It's Alaska statewide, but It's just Alaska, and the talk group number is 3102. It's that simple, right? We're going to go excuse me, to receive group list, and you can see in my way of programming there's a digital contact and then there's receive group. What receive groups are is you can have a group that you want to receive from, so it can be more than one talk group. So you can have, if you want to listen to 10 talk groups, you'd have a receive group or receive group with 10 talk groups in it. These are receive groups with one talk group in it, so it's just the way I've done it. So we're going to do the same thing, right click, add, and double click on group 12. We're going to call that one Alaska, and then we're going to click on Alaska here and add it. So the digital contact Alaska is in the receive group Alaska. I know it's kind of redundant, but it's the way these radios work. We're going to close that down. And then we're going to go to channel. And these are all the channels that are programmed in it. You can get rid of a few of them if you want. If you notice, these look like little square waves. Those are digital. Down here, there's little sine waves. Those are analog channels that are in there. We're going to right click and add a channel. And we're going to double click that channel, and here's your new channel. We're going to change the mode to digital, right? And then we're going to call this one, I start all my hotspot channels with HS and then Alaska. You can do whatever you want, call it whatever you want. Now the receive frequency is going to be what you programmed into your Pi-Star back here. Configuration. It actually shows it right here, 432.15. This frequency, right? So 432.15, and then this is a nice little feature. You click that and it just copies it over to the transmit frequency. So that's a simplex frequency. Privacy is off. Privacy group, don't worry about it. Receive group list. This is that Alaska. So if you wanted to receive lots of different channels, you would make a receive group that had lots of different talk groups in it, and you'd put that in here. The color code is a 1 coming from Pi-Star again. Where was that? BM color code right there, DMR color code. That's going to be a 1. There's no emergency system. There's no, now the contact is going to be Alaska. This is the talk group that you're transmitting out to. It can only be one talk group. You can't transmit to multiple, well, there is a way to transmit to multiple talk groups, but you probably don't want to do that. And I haven't figured that out yet either. I probably never will. And then there's the repeater slot. DMR's TDMA, it's time shared anyhow. There's 2 slots. There's slot 1 and slot 2. We're going to go check out our Pi-Star, and it should be, where was that? We'll go back to the dashboard. It shows the slot. Time slot 1 is disabled, time slot 2 is enabled, so this will be time slot 2 on mine. I'm pretty sure it's on yours too. I think they all were like that. And then that channel's done. See, it's down here. So the last thing we get to do is we get to put it in a zone. So here's all the zones that are programmed in that radio. There might be more. I don't remember. This is just the one, the last setup I had. We're going to add a zone, so we're going to right click, we're going to add. There's zone 6, or double click on zone 6. I'm going to call that hotspot. You call it whatever you want. And down here I'm going to add Alaska. That's it. So you want to save save the file. I always save them every time I change them. So I'm going to change this to today's date, which is 12/2/1918. Save. It says, okay, I did it. I'm going to write it to the radio. Since you have the radio, I can't write to it, but you write it. I can't remember. It might be an OK screen in there you got to do. And there you have it. Once it's all written, you turn the radio on, you set it to zone hotspot. It should automatically come up with the Alaska channel and call out. There are some interesting things about Pi-Star that I'll get into in just a second. Okay, we're back to the Pi-Star digital voice dashboard. And this is kind of where I watch while I'm talking on this to see people's call signs, because they pop up here. You can see KD2EWE was on talk group 3102, which is Alaska, at 12:22 on December 2nd. And you see his loss right here was 0%. This loss column is typically due to internet problems. And then there's the BER column, which is due to is issues with communications between the radio and the hotspot. And this is something I knew I had to adjust. And with that radio, you're going to have to adjust it. I think it's off 100 hertz or so on the center frequency. Don't know how to tune it in. Doesn't really matter, just because you can tune the hotspot to it. But if you ever get another radio, you're going to have to retune the hotspot. But anyhow, I'll show you kind of how to do that. I'm going to transmit on 3102 real quick so you can see what it looks like. Let's go to hotspot Alaska, and I'm going to key up K7RRL testing. And you see right here the duration is 4.7 seconds and my BER is 0.3%. When you first key that up, you're going to see this number, and it might be red. It might be like 4% or something. So there's a way that you can tune that to get it a little better. You go to configuration, and then I believe it's expert, and it might take me a second to do this, but I think it's DMR GW. We go to network. No, where are those offsets at? Well, I'll be right back. So we go back to configuration, and we go to expert mode, and it gives you a warning because you can do a lot of damage here. You do MMDVM host, click there, and go down. Where is that? I just found it. Modem, down here to modem. See this modem area. Forget this, don't worry about that, don't worry about this. You see this receive offset, transmit offset? Tune those a little bit. You know, and if it's off a lot, you'd say you can go negative numbers too. That just tunes the center frequency of the radio that's on that little Pi-Star unit. So, and the radio could be off too. I mean, these things aren't perfect. Anyhow, it tunes it to one side or the other where it thinks it is. So like on mine, it's 432.15, and it works better with receive offset, 432.1585, and as you can see, there's a little bit of offset. So you have to change it. If it's way bad, you'd add 200 to each one and see if it gets worse. And if you just kind of work your way down to where it works best. There's also videos on how to do this, but that's where you do it. And when you're done, you apply changes. And like I said, you go back to your dashboard, which takes a second. And you see that, like this guy here, I don't know what, he didn't have a call sign. He had 57% loss through the internet, and then he lost another 4.8% through his radio. I heard him jump on there, and you couldn't hear him. It was just a bunch of R2D2 like noise. So as you can see, the one here's me transmitting again. I've got that tuned to like 0.2 to 0.3. So what else can I tell you? Once you get this tuned to where it's somewhat green, even orange isn't too bad. People can hear you. Give a call to KL4 Golf Romeo on the Alaska Statewide. Larry, he's a good guy. And there's another one up there, Marty. I don't remember his call sign, but they like to talk. Anyhow, kind of a PS here. If you want to test that hotspot, I'm going to transmit on TAC 310 where there's a lot of traffic, and you'll see the initial call will have a lot of power. The hotspot will then start to chirp back, and this is my SDR that's hooked up to an antenna on the house. So I'll key the radio up so it'll switch to TAC 310. There it is, and I let go of the radio, and so that was the radio. Now you'll start to see, well, let's go check the hotspot real quick. The hotspot just changed to Talk Group 310, which is TAC 310. Let's see if anybody comes through. I'll make a call. I bet somebody will want to talk. K7RRL testing 1 2 3 on TAC 310. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody will jump in. They always do. Well, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's listening. It's Sunday morning, but you'll see it. You'll see the hotspot will come back. Oh, there's one right there. That's the hotspot transmitting. I don't know, somebody's probably talking to me. And you see it. It's working. So you'll see that on 3102 too, and somebody answers back. But TAC 310 has a lot of traffic. So anyhow, that's how you know it works. You can test for sure. And I know you got an SDR up there. So all right, take care, have fun. Hope to see you on the 3102 pretty quick.